All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks for being here. Everybody who's on Zoom and anybody watching on YouTube. We're here for another edition of our member spotlight, and we're joined by Hallie King and Jorge Ruiz. So we're going to start off with Hallie. What's up, Hallie? How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. You got a beautiful background right there. Where are you?
Cuba. Cuba.
Cuba. Did you
Yes.
go?
Yes. Coastal Carolina, where I currently am. We took our team there in August of 2019. So had a beautiful trip and wonderful experience.
Yeah, it's awesome. Did you take that picture? Did you find
I
it?
did take it.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing picture. You got a
Yeah.
good eye.
Thank you.
All right, Haley. So tell us a little bit about. So right now you're currently the director of operations at Coastal Carolina, like you mentioned.
Yep.
How did you get into coaching?
Yeah. So my dad worked for the Bucks for 22 years. And so I've been, basketball's just in my blood. And so been on every bus, plane, train with NBA stars, and then eventually went to the University of Tennessee. Graduated there from 2013. Worked with Bruce Pearl for 2 years, and then moved into an external relations assistant position. So really kind of got a whirlwind of experience in athletics, and absolutely loved it. So knew that operations was exactly where I want to go and don't want to coach at all. I want to stay on the admin level, and we'll see eventually where that takes me. Maybe athletic director, SWA. We'll see.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Awesome. Okay, let's start with growing up around an NBA franchise. What was
mhm.
that like being basically raised within the Bucks facility?
Yeah, well, and that's really what it was. I mean, eh, Ray Allen, we went out to dinner almost every week with him, and so my dad wasn't home maybe every week and he missed some, choir concerts or whatever else, but that was kind of our life and um, absolutely loved it. Went to every Bucks game as a child and uh, couldn't imagine anything better than that. So that was kind of what we did as a family and grew into it. And then, of course, I stayed into it. And now I'm still in athletics.
Was your dad on the front office side or the coaching side, or
He
what
was
was?
on the public relations
Okay,
side of it, and
okay.
so PR side.
What did
Uh,
you learn just kind of observing and being like growing up around that?
yeah. Um, it was just a fun atmosphere. I knew that I didn't want to do NBA because I didn't want to bounce around. Eventually, my dad got out of it just because, in order to move up, he would have to move, and he didn't want to move our family. And so, just went the college level. I think being in the college level, you kind of have that experience to uh, impact more lives than NBA stars. They already have their life going on. On the college level, you're impacting young lives and kind of transforming them into exactly what they're going to be later on. If that's a teacher or a doctor, whatever it is, you have an impact on that versus in the NBA, they're already, grown and in their career.
Absolutely. Okay, so did you go to school at Tennessee?
I did. Yep.
Okay, so you're undergrad
Yep.
at Tennessee, and did you
Undergrad.
work for the basketball program while you were an undergrad or after, or both?
During my undergrad.
Okay.
So my first 2 years worked for Bruce Pearl. And then unfortunately he was let go. And so then I moved into the external relations assistant position. So really got both sides of it because I was working for men's basketball, saw the ins and outs of that. And then eventually, later on moved on to the administration level and saw more sports in general. So football, baseball, softball, um, saw all of the sports that athletics covers. And so learned the business of sports a little bit deeper than my first 2 years.
Okay, and let's talk a little bit about Bruce Pearl because he certainly like builds programs wherever he
Yeah.
goes that are
Yeah.
like built for success. year in and year out. What
Mhm.
makes him so, did you get any insight on what makes him so effective and how he does it?
It's just his personality of how he does it. He's a people person. I think that you have to be a people person in order to be a coach. But he knows the business and he knows exactly how to coach and build a program and get the players that he needs to in order to, build a program.
Do you have to be a people person to be a good admin?
I think so.
Yeah.
You gotta, in order to, you gotta know people and know their strengths and their weaknesses and be able to help them along during those weaknesses that they may have. So definitely tailoring, making sure that you're not one-sided, and hearing everything that someone has to say.
Okay, so you graduate from Tennessee.
Mhm.
Um, you learn a ton working 2 years with basketball under Bruce Pearl and 2 years, in an SEC athletic department. So
Right.
what happens next? You graduate, they kick you out of Knoxville.
Kicked me out, unfortunately, bleed orange through and through. And so Tennessee will be my home forever. And so eventually landed at Coastal, took a little time off, just couldn't find a job. And that's our business. Sometimes the cycle just didn't get in time. And so landed at Coastal about 9 months after graduation and been there ever since. So I'm going into now my 6th year at Coastal, and under Jada Williams, and we had a phenomenal season this year. Unfortunately, COVID like just ruined it, but that's every program around the country right now.
Um, and how's your experience at Coastal been like in terms of, what you've taken away and gained from that experience? Because it's a
Mhm.
big difference, right? Going from like working for them as an undergrad, even though you probably have a ton of responsibility and you get a taste of it, but now you're like full-time staffer there, so you get thrown into the deep end, right?
Right. Yeah. No, it is full time and you get thrown in. I would say that I have grown so much from my first time stepping on campus. I never knew where Coastal was until I applied for the job. And of course, now a lot of people know of Coastal just because of our baseball team winning it all in 2016. And so, of course, with that, that really helps, um, and to grow, Coastal in general. And so I grew a lot during my first year. And then, of course, taking that the last couple of years and honed in on different things that I really want to do on more of the administration side, and trying to just keep building myself. So we'll see where that takes me.
Okay, what is a Chanticleer? Is that how you say it?
Chanticleer.
Chanticleer, excuse me.
Chanticleer.
What is that? Is
Yes.
that a knight of some sort?
It's a rooster.
It's a rooster.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's a fighting rooster,
A fighting
from
rooster.
the Chanticleer tales. Um, so
And is that seafoam green? Is that the official color?
teal,
Teal. Oh, okay.
teal. It's
Gotcha.
teal. Yeah. So we do have, we're one of two schools with a teal turf. And then eventually we'll get a teal running track as well. So
Who's the other? Is it Tulane?
it is Tulane. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So.
Um, okay. What has it been like being on the basketball staff with no, desire to actually coach, but using that to kind of leap into the admin world?
Mhm. I would say first that, you have to have the coach that wants just an admin. Quite a few coaches want to use their Dobo role as a springboard for, someone that wants to coach. And there's so many things that need to be done behind the scenes that if you're not really focused on that, that you're not going to have the hotel right, you're not going to have the food right, you're not going to have, you know, all the small details right, and something's going to get, left behind. And so making sure that all of that is done, and so that's, my forte right there. And so just taking that and making sure that the coaches don't have to worry about it. So I ask them, what do you want for dinner? Well, if we go to a Texas Roadhouse, I kind of know one of three meals that they're going to already eat. So if it's a really busy day in the office, I'll just pick for them and they're happy with it. But we also have that trust in the office that they know that I'm not going to pick something that they don't want. But also having the, hotels right. So then if our plane gets in super early or late, making sure that the rooms are already checked in, that we can just pick up the keys and go straight to the rooms and then go off to the arena or off to, another meal, whatever the case may be. Maybe it's film, making sure that film is set up and that our video coordinator has it, queued up so then we don't waste time or anything.
How have you been able to like network with other like admins and make it known that like that is the path that you're interested in and
Yeah.
not get pigeonholed into the basketball
Uh-huh.
spot?
Yeah. So the WBCA has a mentor program. So I've been with them doing that for quite a few years now. And whenever I talk to people, I'm clear as to what I want. And I think that's really what you need to be. I don't want to be something that I'm not, because at the end of the day, maybe you can fake it for a little bit, but you're not going to be able to fake it too long. And so just making sure that I am true to myself and then eventually getting my name out there, talking to other people, on Rising Coaches, making sure that I can connect with anyone and everyone out there. I never know who's going to eventually be a coach or who's ever going to be potentially an AD somewhere, and then be able to eventually hire me somewhere else.
So what is like, all right, forgive me for being naive about like the career path into admin, but is my understanding that like you kind of have to pick a path like marketing, sports
Mhm.
information, development? Like, do you have to choose one of those to get into first?
I wouldn't say necessarily choose one. I would say more just know what you don't want. I know that I don't want to do media relations, and I kind of learned that back at Tennessee that media relations is not for me. And so
Not
when I
following your dad's footsteps?
no, not going to do that. I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good on that. So, but eventually just learning what you do and don't want. And so I think the SWA role, I think that's where eventually I see myself um, kind of taking more of an admin role over athletics instead of just strictly one department. Marketing department, SID work, compliance. Again, compliance, that's right along the public relations side. I don't want to do that either. That's too much uh, lawyer stuff involved and all that. So we'll stick with the SWA type of thing.
So is that something you think you could springboard from the ops position, or would you,
Hmm.
it is, okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't know
So
if you'd have to
eventually,
like work your way, in an admin role first and then
I
go.
think eventually I would have to, start at a smaller school to get the SWA, not go to an SEC school right away. But I think eventually, yeah, that I could start SWA just with my experience. Currently, I'm the assistant athletic director of women's basketball operations. So taking that role a little bit more than just a Dobo. I kind of call it the AA Dobo for short.
Yeah,
So,
I love it. That's awesome. How did you like get that title? Was that just, or when, first of all, when did you get that title added onto the ops job?
so I got that title 2 years ago. And then I was just looking at other titles and trying to see what else I can do to add to my resume, knowing that eventually I do want to be on the administration side. And so that was really just going to Jada and saying, hey, are we able to do this? And of course, I took on more things along with that. So I'm working more with the administration on, different volunteer things that happen on campus, whether that's, more budget meetings, just so then I understand the athletic role in general and not just from the basketball side of it, and not just from women's basketball, taking all of the sports at Coastal into consideration.
Yeah, and talk about Matt Hogue a little bit. Your guys' AD there. Obviously, he's done a good job. You
Yeah.
guys have had a lot of success.
Yeah, he's been on with you guys, I think, a couple
Yeah,
times.
yeah, he has. He's great. He was on. I know I saw him on one of the mock interviews, he was really
Right.
good.
Yeah.
What have you kind of learned from him, and what have you taken from, or what will you take eventually one day from your time observing how he runs his program at Coastal?
He's got a different career path than I think a lot of people. His career path is coming from a radio perspective. So a lot of people don't know that. But in order to get to his current AD job, he was a radio person. And so just knowing that in the first place, no matter what, you can be whatever you want. You just have to take the right steps in order to do that. So connecting with the right people and making sure that you're involved in your campus, and knowing exactly what goes on the campus, knowing the ins and outs of how each department works, whether that's the business office, marketing, making sure that each marketing tactic that you use is geared towards that one sport, because the way that we do things for women's basketball is going to be completely different than football, and just knowing that and then being able to tailor it for that particular sport.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, that's right. He does have the radio background, and he still definitely has the radio voice. He's got the nice deep baritone tenor. Yeah, definitely has the golden pipes. Okay, so last thing I'll ask you, Haley, like what is some advice that you would give to somebody who's interested in taking the same career path as you, or wanting to break in to admin?
Yeah, I would just say, reach out to people, especially during this time. I think people are more willing to talk. We all have time to talk now, and stay connected with people. I know that some people, myself included, that I've reached out to a couple people in the past, and then all of a sudden it's 6 months later and I haven't contacted them. And I don't need to do it every single week. That's not the point. But the point is, making those connections, and learning from your mistakes and learning from other people's mistakes. Whatever you do at your school may not be the way that someone else does it. And so when you move to a different school, making sure that you talk to other people, so then what you can and can't do at your particular school. And then just being able to expand your horizon, and learn from others.
Yeah, it's great. Okay, I know I said that was the last thing, but one more
You're
thing.
good.
Give me a book and a podcast recommendation.
Yeah. I mean, one of my favorite books is the Pat Summitt book. So I haven't read that one in a little bit, but definitely one of my favorites. As far as podcasts, I like TED Talks a lot, and just any TED Talk, I would say, are really good. So those are kind of my go-tos.
Right. All right. Great. Well, Haley, great job. We'll open it up for questions. Let's go ahead. Any questions now? Usually we go straight to our other guest. Let's go ahead and jump over to Jorge. Haley, great work. We'll open it up for questions at the end.
Okay.
But thanks again for taking the time this morning.
Yep. Thank you.
Jorge, how are you, sir?
Good. You?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
That's going to be a tough one to follow. I don't know if I'm as entertaining or kind of have as cool as a life, man. I did not grow up in the Bucks.
Yeah, that's all right. We'll do the best we can. I'm sure you got something. Let's start off with this. We'll start off with an easy one. Where are you today? Are you in Ogden?
I'm in Ogden, Utah. Yes, I am.
Okay, nice. So, great city, by the way. I coached at Northern Colorado for 10 months.
Oh, nice.
Right up there at Weber. Got destroyed, but had a great time you know this, but I'm sure it's still like this in the Big Sky. You play what, Thursday, Saturday,
Yeah,
and you take those road trips. Like there's usually 2 teams in each region,
yeah,
and you play both on the road, so you're gone, for quite some time. Uh,
yeah.
and a lot of Frontier Airlines points racked up, but had fun in Ogden for sure.
Yeah,
Anyway,
we're typically paired up with Pocatello, so we're
yes, that was
usually
the worst trip. Idaho State, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's like how long of a bus ride is that? Like 3 hours?
Probably like two, two.
Two? Okay.
Yeah,
There's parts of the country that you see on that bus trip that look like you're on Mars. Like
yeah.
it's so beautiful in that Utah, Idaho area, and I've never been through there, but yeah,
Coming
I
from
felt like I was on another planet.
yeah, coming from Southern California, I had never seen any parts of that country. The Big Sky was like the first time I was in Montana, in Idaho. I think those two were like my first times with the Big Sky.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. All right, well, tell us a little bit about that growing up in Southern California and how you got into basketball.
I hooped in high school, broke my growth plate like my junior year. Um, and like my high school coach was like, "You want to be a manager?" And I was like, "I don't know what in the hell a manager is." But he kind of talked me into it, and so I was like, "All right, let's do this." And we went to team camp at Arizona State, got in touch with like Jason Ludwig up there, and then kind of started off with Coach Sendek, and he had Stan Johnson, Barrett Perry, Larry Greer, and Jason Ludwig on his staff, and so I got started with them as a manager. We got fired the next year, and Coach Hurley came in, um, and that was kind of like a big moment for me because Coach Hurley kind of taught me a lot in my basketball career. Him and his staff, especially Coach Burno, and so like those guys definitely helped me a ton with my work ethic and kind of gave me more responsibility than maybe I should have had, but also kind of pushed me to maybe learn about myself and how much I could actually do. After a few years at Arizona State, I transferred to Grand Canyon for my senior year to help out with like their video coordinator position. And so they had fired their video coordinator, so it was me and Matt Lopez, who's at South Dakota now. And we kind of knocked that stuff out with a few of the managers, and I got to have like a lot of responsibility in the video room. After I graduated, took a GA position at UNLV for like 6 weeks. And then Coach Ray gave me a call and offered me a full-time position on staff. And I thought I was ready, so I took the jump, came out here to Weber, became a video coordinator, and got promoted last year to be ops.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, let's talk about like your undergrad years. What was it like working for 3 different staffs during your time as an undergrad with the 2 at Arizona State and then going to Grand Canyon?
Yeah, it was a blessing in disguise. I had to adjust really young, and I learned how to like work with other people and different personalities and coaching really quick. Um, Coach Sendek did stuff way differently than Coach Hurley. And then when I left Coach Hurley's staff and went with Coach Marley, we did stuff completely different again. And so I had to learn and kind of learn my dynamics as a younger age and a manager.
I think the great thing about it too, like I had a similar experience during my GA. I got to work for 2 different staffs at Clemson, and just like head coaching styles alone or aside, all the different assistants you get to work with and all the different, like your network working for 3 different staffs was probably, 3 times the size as most.
Yeah, you like accidentally fall into natural networking. And so it was a blessing.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, how did you get connected with UNLV? How did that job come about?
So that was actually kind of leaving Grand Canyon. I knew I wanted to be a GA, and I was like, I want to get my master's. That was a big deal to me. So I emailed like every school in the country, like everyone. And I got in touch with Preston Laird. We talked back and forth, typical like GA route where it kind of went along and we just kept talking. I didn't bug him too much, but I stood in the mix. And then I drove out to the Final Four from Phoenix when it was in San Antonio, so it was a pretty heck of a drive. Went to lunch with like TJ Benson and Luke Dallariva, who were on staff at Grand Canyon at the time. And we're just kind of sitting around. And the guy to the left of me is Preston Laird. And we both kind of looked at each other like we recognized each other's name when we said it, but I didn't know who he was. So I looked it up on my phone, and turned out we had been talking about a GA spot the whole time, and it kind of clicked off from there.
And so what did you say you were there 6 weeks, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Preston, by the way, great dude.
Yeah,
One
exactly.
of the original Rising Coaches guys.
He's a
Fun fact
great
for
guy.
you. So 6 weeks, and then you get the call from Coach Ray. Like, did you have a connection to Coach Ray at all, or?
My only connection was Coach Burno, who knew David Moats, who's at Boise. And so he spoke highly of me, and Coach Ray called me and interviewed me over the phone. And then I was supposed to actually fly out for an interview. And then after the interview, he told me he was going to call me back on Monday or Tuesday. And I heard and like Wednesday and Thursday came along that week. And I was like, well, I didn't get it. And then Thursday he called me and he was like, how early can you be out here? Like, let's do this. And so I got out here like Saturday and got straight to work.
I feel like Weber State is one of the most underappreciated programs in like low major, mid-major basketball. You guys win like 20 games every year, pretty much.
Yeah.
Randy Ray has been there, I don't know, maybe 10 years or so, maybe a little longer actually, and has been so consistent. You guys are almost always in the top 3 in the Big Sky. What was your like early sense, like first impressions coming into that program? Like, was it clear that they had it rolling and there was a method behind the madness?
Yeah, there's definitely a method behind the madness. He's been here 15 years. This last year was his first losing season. And like, he's a legend in the Big Sky and just kind of in coaching in general. And so getting there, first impressions, I really just knew that I was walking into a big time culture. And I knew that what Coach Ray had going, it was rolling, and we had to just kind of keep it rolling. TJ Benson played for Coach Ray as like a walk-on. And so he gave me a heads up and was like, hey, you're going to win a lot there and you're going to learn a ton about culture. And so that's kind of what I came in expecting. And it's what we did my first year. We kind of got off the tracks a bit this last year, but brought in 10 guys in the spring. And so.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about the culture. Like what makes it so unique and successful?
Coach Ray holds everyone accountable, no matter who you are. Like, it's big on accountability from his staff to his players to, I mean, even the managers. Everyone's accountable for what they have to do. And we're never farsighted. We're never really happy with if we win or lose. Talking to him, like, he wins the championship and the next day he doesn't want it in his house. He doesn't want it in the basketball offices because he's moving on to the next year. And he's like the same with that game by game, where if we win, he's not really content with that because he's always bigger picture. And he's kind of wired a little bit different than most.
How does he hold like everyone accountable?
I would kind of just say he's pretty good at getting after it with guys. If you're gonna slack off to the point where, like, if he sees the best player slacking off, he's going to get after it. And that was Jarek Harding for this last year. And I mean, Jarek would have 40 and he would yell at him at the defensive end because Jarek gave up a easy layup or something. And he kind of holds everyone accountable, just getting after everyone. He's a high energy guy.
It seems like he also allows people, I don't know, like I'm an outsider. I've played them twice. But it seemed like he also lets people kind of, especially like his assistants, I've known a few people to work for him. He lets them kind of have freedom to do their job. Is that accurate?
No question. And he's had some amazing assistants here. He's had a Coach Linder, Coach Beckner, Smiley, like a ton of assistants, Coach Merritt, Coach Daniels, whose dad's a Hall of Famer. I mean, we've had some great guys here that he's had under it. And so even coming out of the ops position where Garrett Lever, Phil Beckner, David Moats, Tim O'Flanagan, like they were all just great guys. And he gave them like the freedom to do their jobs, and he's given me the freedom as well to do my job.
What okay, one of the big things that like I had to overcome in my career is like I was in that, support staff position for a long time, and you're itching to get on the court, and you got to deal with the lack of recruiting experience and coaching experience. Has that been like something you've struggled with or encountered? Not struggled with, but have you seen that?
I was fortunate enough to work for Adidas and Nike, like in the circuits coming up. So as a manager, I got to work for the Adidas Gauntlet, and then I worked Adidas Nations 2 years, and then I worked for the Nike EYBL, and then worked the Nike Skills Academy. And so I've been fortunate enough to be around good people who've kind of helped us out a bit, and just kind of have kept me in those circles. And hopefully, when I get that call up, I'll be ready to go.
That's so important for like, especially at the young stages of your career, to like be involved with some place that you can use as a recruiting base, right? That you can go back to and be able to draw players from. So many people that go the support staff route never get that. They never get their hands dirty and get involved at grassroots or junior college. But it's so important. Like you said, like I could just tell the way you said it. Like you got ultimate confidence that when you do get the opportunity, you're going to know where to go.
Yeah, no question. I was lucky to be 18, 19, getting my hands dirty and not really knowing what I was falling into, talking to the right people. And you kind of just accidentally fell into it. And so that was, again, me being fortunate to be around good people. Coach Berno gave me the opportunity to work for Adidas over the summers, and it was like a Thursday, and he was like, "Hey, do you want to work Nations?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "We'll drive down there right now. They have a hotel for you, and like you could be there Friday by 9 a.m." And this was like Thursday at 6 p.m. So I went home, like put a backpack worth of stuff together of Adidas and got down there.
That's funny. It always happens like that. It's always like does no one plan ahead?
Yeah.
It's always like you got 12 hours to get here, and you got to do it.
I was wondering, I was like, "Coach, what if I don't make it down there in time? Like, what was plan B here?"
Right. That's funny. I think the other thing, along with what we were just talking about, it seems like there's a long history or trend of like Randy Ray moving people up within his staff. Is that something that you guys have talked about? Like, how do you approach that? Do you just do the best you can and hope one day that comes, or are those conversations that you guys have with each other?
I'd say I focus on my job and do what I need to do. Coach Ray's great on like if he sees you're doing a good job, he's had that conversation with me. But like you said, he's had like amazing dobos. I mean, Phil Beckner and Garrett Lever went on to be assistant coaches for him and great assistant coaches at that. And so, like you said, he's had a good record of moving guys up. And so we've had the conversation a bit, but I'm fortunate to just, if I know he notices that I keep my head down and do my job, he'll notice.
Percentage of time that you guys mentioned Damian Lillard on recruiting calls?
Who was that again? No, Dame's huge, man. But Damian's big, but Coach Ray has like he's had amazing guards here and bigs where he's developed as pros. Like Coach Ray's so right now the alumni at Weber, don't quote me on this exact number, makes 7.2 million without Dame a year. And so he's had really good alumni here. Joel Ballenboy, Dev Berry, Jeremy Singlin, Scott Bamforth, Jarek Harding, who's going to be on to be a great pro, Cody John, who's going to be pretty good. Those guys have done a great job here of like just putting pros out. But of course, Damian's the most well-known guy, and he put out an NBA All-Star out of Ogden, Utah. So we do mention him a bit.
Yeah, I imagine. Is he involved with the program? Does he come back for a game every once in a while, or is he so busy?
Yeah. No, comes back typically every summer, not this one, of course. He actually hosted an alumni classic. So he gets the guys together and like they just basically pay a pickup game. He'll sponsor. He gives the guys shoes, gear. But he comes back every other year to do the classic, but he comes every summer and just works out with our guys, brings up Coach Beckner up here, and they get after it for a few weeks.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, when I feel like I'm talking about my experience so much, so I apologize. But
Oh, I want to hear your experience too, honestly.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, so my year at Northern Colorado was Damian Lillard's last year at Weber. So it was coming off, like, I don't know that people know this, but like he was hurt, I guess, his sophomore year.
Yeah.
And redshirted. He had an amazing freshman year. Sophomore year got hurt, redshirted. Or sorry, it was his junior year. So he played 2 years, then got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Am I telling this right?
Played 2 years, got hurt in that second year, broke his ankle.
Right.
Had to redshirt.
Redshirted. So I was there for his junior year, which was his last season, his fourth year at Weber. So anyways, we're at our shoot around, and he's in there, like we come in the morning of the game to get shots up or whatever, and he's in there finishing up an individual workout with Phil Beckner. And it was like a high level workout. Like how intentional they were with what they were doing. It was nothing fancy, but it was like really, really well thought out. Every rep was like high intensity. And then they would walk back, like it'd be a really hard rep, walk back to the cone, really hard rep, walk back. It was just impressive. Like it was really clear. And then of course, like I'd watched film on him and knew how good he was. And then he dropped a casual, easy 32 on us, dunked on us, hit 7 threes, like everything, any way you wanted it.
32, so he had an off game apparently.
That was like an average night for him. Like honestly, It wasn't an off night, but it wasn't like a great night. And it was just like he made it look easy.
Yeah. I've been fortunate enough to like watch Phil out in Arizona, or Coach Beckner out in Arizona. Hopefully he doesn't watch this. He's going to chew me out for calling him Phil. But I've been fortunate enough to watch Coach Beckner out in Arizona and here, and Coach John Lucas. And like I noticed that when I first got on the court as a manager, I thought you had to go hard all the time. Like you do the rep, you sprint back to the cone, you get to the spot. And I learned from them like patience. Like we want to master this rep, and every rep it's the most important thing in this world every time they do it, like every rep. And so walking back to the cone was something I learned like watching them, and it was great. It was great to see that.
Yeah, me too. Okay, Jorge, tell me book and podcast recommendation.
Book that I'm reading right now. It's actually, I got away from basketball on this one, Relationship Goals by Pastor Michael Todd.
Okay.
Podcast, Live Period by JUCO Advocate. I've been just started up and I've been listening to it, and it's a really good one.
Yeah, I've only caught a few snippets of it, but I really enjoy what I've heard.
Yeah, no, he does a great job.
Yeah, it seems like it. Okay, Jorge, last thing, give us some advice for somebody either trying to get into the profession or someone who's in it, just plugging along.
Keep plugging along. People are going to notice if you keep helping them out, keep working. That's really the only advice I give. I was really blessed and fortunate to be around good people who helped me out in my career. But just keep plugging along, and when you're around the right people, they're going to help you out. And when your time's to get that job, they're definitely going to help you and make the calls they need to make to get that job. So just keep plugging along and network. Definitely call people, reach out to people, talk to them, whoever you can. You never know. This guy's going to be your next boss.
I love it. Jorge, great job, man. Well done.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for doing this. Okay, I want to open it up. If anyone has questions for either Hallie or Jorge, feel free to unmute yourself and ask away. If not, you guys did such a good, thorough job. You may have everyone stumped. Okay, quiet group today, no problem. Jorge, Hallie, great job. Thank you guys so much.
Perfect.
Thanks,
Thank you for
guys.
having us on.